well, let us prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. And now your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And now if you put your hand over your heart and just extend your arms, I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that our lives, your life, my life, is waiting for us to happen. My life is waiting for me to happen. Your life is waiting for you to happen. There's nothing external out there that can keep our life from going in the direction that we want it to go in. Now, I say that with deep respect for all of you. I say that with deep compassion and understanding that I know that there's some external stuff in the lives of some people in the church. There has been in my life during times. And if I heard a preacher get up there and say, oh, you know, no problem, just have the life you want, there's nothing external bothering you, I want you to say it would have been hard for me to hear it. And as a result of that, I don't say this lightly. But you came here this morning for me to tell you the truth. And the truth is, there's nothing out there that is bigger than what is in here for you. Nothing. See? The reason I can say it is because I have such deep faith that the presence of God that is within you can make a way out of no way every single time. Hallelujah! Yeah, I have deep faith in that understanding. See, we have to get clear that we are spiritual beings living in human magnificence. See, we have tripped ourselves out by thinking, well, we're human beings having a human experience, but we're spiritual. No, no, no. We are spiritual beings having a human experience that can be magnificent. It can be totally in alignment with that spirit that is within us. But in order to do that, we're going to have to end our reliance on factual information, on that evidence of facts, and begin to understand that that evidence that sells news is not actual. Factual and actual are two different things. The actual in this world is that you are a powerful representation of nothing less than God on the planet. It's not God and you, it's God as you. And all of the power that created this planet is within you. Now, you're not all of God, but God is all of you. And when we can begin to walk from that consciousness, we can stop feeling like we're being tossed around by the world. We can begin to really understand this notion that our life is waiting for us to happen. Psalm 119 says, I run in the path of your commandment, for you have set my heart free. I run in the path of your commandment, for you have set my life free. Now, you and I don't really resonate with words like commandment and, God forbid, obedience. That really trips us out. We don't like that word at all. So we're moving over to harmony. When I run in the path of my harmony with my natural spirit, which is the Spirit of God, my heart is set free. And I'm not worried about what's going on over there all of the time. You know, when we get caught up in that nervousness, that painful stuff, that the external limits are what's driving us, it paralyzes us. It stops us. It makes us smaller. You know, when I got ready to write my book about the 12 steps from a spiritual, not religious point of view, I heard that another person who I deemed to be much smarter than me, much more creative than I was, much better writer than I was, I heard he was going to write such a book as that. And I thought, oh, well, I just put my pen down. See? Because that external idea, that factual idea that I bought into, nobody had to stop me. Nobody had to say, you can't do this. I said it all by myself. I have a friend who is in Santa Rosa who's a wonderful watercolorist, beautiful watercolorist. And she totally No, that's not the story I'm telling right now. Sorry. I want to tell you about another story about limitation and how we can let other externals rob us from our grace, rob us from our serenity and our happiness. I'm so glad you're back. Here's what we do. There's a story about a monk, and I've told this story about the monks a million times, so some of you could probably lip sync it with me, but it never hurts to hear a spiritual story over and over and over again. It's about two monks who are crossing, they're out walking, and they, monks only have their little baking bowls and, whatever they can bake for lunch. And so they're walking, and they come across a small river. And there's a beautiful woman at the river waiting. Now, monks, most of you know, take a vow to never look at a woman or touch a woman. And so these two monks approach this kind of quickly running piece of water, and the woman is standing there, and she's beautifully dressed, and she turns to him and says, "I don't know how I'm going to get over there, but I have to get over there." And one of the monks scoops her up and walks her across the river and puts her down on the other side and never says anything, and then the two monks walk on one way and she goes another way. Well, the monk that did not pick her up is furious. But like a lot of us, he doesn't want to tell anybody he's furious, so he just goes and gives the other monk the silent treatment, and they're walking. I know some of you do that too, and he wants to really let the monk know he's mad, so he throws his little baking bowl down, and he chops his carrots all up hard and mad and throws it all in there. So the monk says, "Okay, I've had enough. What's the problem?" And he said, "We took a vow to never touch a woman, and you did." And he said, "Look, I put that woman down 4 hours ago, and I'm done with it. You're still carrying it around." And that's what you and I do. That's what you and I do. We carry this stuff around, and then we make it we embellish it, and we make it into a limit for ourselves. Well, our job is to get like the first monk. We do what's in our heart to do. It was in his heart to help a person. It was in his spiritual nature to help a person. He wasn't worried about the externals and what would happen to him. We need to get to that place. And that's when we can begin to happen to our life as opposed to our life happening to us. Well, if you're visiting today, you know that we're a very practical church. We want to tell you practical ways in which you can get to the place of that monk, in which you can get to the place where limitation is not always driving your life. One of those ways is this book we've been studying before I went away called The Big Leap, a book written by Gay Hendricks. And The Big Leap applies to the fact that we want to leap away from the limitations. And he calls it, we have an upper limit problem. We have an upper limit problem. And the definition of the upper limit problem is that we have taken the lies that we were told about ourselves and about what we could and couldn't do, and then we even embellished them some, and then we've lived our lives according to those lies. And as a result of that, we set a limit on how far we could happen to our lives. And so he goes on in the next chapter. Thank you so much. He goes on in the next chapter to talk about some common barriers that we all have for that. For instance, many of us have a barrier of feeling fundamentally flawed in some area in our life. Maybe we were told we weren't good enough when we were a little kid. The second one is disloyalty and abandonment. The next one is more success equals more burden. Some of us don't want to reach out and really go for our potential because we feel like it's going to be more of a burden for us. And the last one is the crime of outshining. Well, if you want, you can get those in the bookstore. The third chapter in the book were some strategies as to how to dissolve this upper limit problem. And that also is maybe available in the bookstore. The book is fabulous. So if you haven't had a chance to get the book, I encourage you to do that. Today, we're going to just focus on how to spend every moment in your zone of genius. Now remember, we talked about the zone of incompetence, the zone of competence, the zone of excellence, and then the zone of genius. And that's where we want to live. What is the zone of genius? It's that place where you know and you know you are God in form. You know and you know there are no limits. It's like Brenda's prayer. You send back into nothingness anything anybody told you about what you can't do or how it's failing for you. That's when you know that you are in your zone of genius. When you're in your zone of genius, you feel you have a sense of purpose, a sense of joy, a sense of abundance. Now, when we discover our genius, our zone of genius, that is the big leap. That's the moment in which we stop hopping around and we start leaping in life toward that which we want. See, hopping makes you feel safe. You feel safe when you're hopping, you know. You don't go too far, you're hopping. What we want you to do, though, is to not rust out. See, when you're hopping, we want you to feel powerful into your zone of genius. So, everything we want to occur in our life, whether it's an experience, whether it's a deeper understanding of who we are, or whether it's a new car, always starts with an intention. An intention. So I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. I commit to living in my zone of genius. Okay? I commit to living in my zone of genius. Say it again.
I commit to living in my zone of genius.
Okay. So, I want you to keep doing that all day after you get out of here. Not now, but it's my turn now. But after that, I want you to go ahead and keep saying that to you, because here's what you're doing. It's not just, what it will do is signal to your subconscious. It signals to your subconscious that you mean business, that you're ready to step into that zone of genius. You say, well, I don't understand how that works. You don't have to. Take my word for it. You are going to signal to your subconscious that you are ready to step into your zone of genius. Now, there's one more night that you can get into foundation. So if you don't know how your subconscious plays in driving your life, get into foundations. Come Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, and we'll help you with that. But understanding that when we repeat a powerful intention as an affirmation in this way, we are doing powerful spiritual work. It's not just gabbing. It's powerful spiritual work. Yeah. And when you do that, you step out into the unknown. And whenever we step out into the unknown in a spiritual manner, a bridge will appear to carry us. The bridge that appears in this way is based on 4 questions. He says your bridge are the 4 questions. And I'm going to go really quickly through the 4 questions right now. The first question is, what do I love doing the most? What do I love doing the most? What can I do for a long period of time without getting bored, without getting antsy, without getting tired? Now, that may take a little time, because the truth of the matter is we haven't done that for a while. Most of us are so busy doing what somebody else wants us to do, whether it's our family member, whether it's our boss, whether it's our job, whether it's our business concerns. We're doing what needs to be done. And we haven't taken time for a long stretch of time, to do something we love doing. I have a friend, this is the friend in Santa Rosa who's a beautiful watercolorist. This is the story. And when she was young, she painted beautiful. She was in galleries. She was well sought after. And then she started having children. And so she painted every once in a while. But then her husband got downsized, and so she had to go to work as an accountant. And so she very rarely did she paint. And then eventually the demands of her job and her kids and her husband and her family got so much that she just boxed all the paints up and put them away. And then her kids went to college, came out, started doing very well, and so she took the paints back out. She would drive over to the coast in Sonoma County and paint these beautiful seascapes. And she was just, you could feel, when you looked at her, she loved her kids. She loved being a mom. She didn't even mind being an accountant. But you could feel she was in her zone of genius when she was doing this watercoloring. It's what she loved to do. She was totally connected with her purpose. She was totally connected with the expression of her gifts. And her paintings were hanging in many of our homes and brought us great joy as well. Well, the phone rings one day, and pretty soon the son says, he now has children, her daughter now has children, "Mom, can you come and watch the kids this week?" Pretty soon the daughter, "Mom, can you come and watch the kids this week?" And every time the paintings would get less. And we would say to her, "This is the word you need to say to your beautiful children. No. No. I want to be in my zone of genius." Now, she loved being a grandmother. She was a great grandmother. She was a great mother. But she stepped out of her zone of genius, that which really brought her joy, so that she could meet somebody else's needs. All of us in this room are doing it. All of us in this room are doing it. Now, does it mean that we just forsake our kids and go be selfish people? No. But it does mean that we begin to look at where have we become codependent in our jobs, with our family, with other people, that we can take a block, some blocks, not 15 minutes, some blocks of time to do what you want to do. See, most of us, we won't discover what we love to do because we think money is not connected to it. See, we think money has to be connected to it. Well, first, here are two things. One is God is your source. There's nothing else in your source but God. Okay? So I am clear. I am not suggesting you quit your job and go, play the banjo for a month or play golf or whatever you might want to do for a long period of time. I'm not suggesting that any of us do that. But I am suggesting this. If what you're doing is really not in any way connected to what you love to do, begin now visioning for a different job. You are not stuck. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of people in this church who have left very lucrative positions to do what they wanted to do. Now, they made sure that their children had food and that they had clothes to wear and tires on their car. They did all that. I'm not saying just up and leave, but I am saying begin now, today, this Sunday, October 6th, make this the day you begin to ask yourself in earnest, how can I vision for a job that brings me at least closer to what it is I love to do? Now, those of you who have taken foundations, you know how to vision. Those of you who haven't taken foundations, be here Wednesday night. Those of you who want to brush up, practitioners, please stand. Okay, these people know how to vision. And you can go to them and say, I want a vision for a new job. Teach me this technique. You can sit down now, please. Teach me this technique. Now, don't meet them in the hall and say, hey, what's the technique? No, get a session and go in and ask them to help you with this. See, we make spirituality way too hard. We have a lot of the answers right here in this building in West Sacramento. Hallelujah. And we have to begin to use them. So the second question we want to ask ourselves is, what do I do that doesn't seem like work? Because what that is, something you will identify with that. Let me read you what you might be at your job and it doesn't seem like work and you're feeling a little chagrined about it. There's something at the very heart of the work you do that you identify when you ask yourself this question. When you're doing this certain thing and not burdened by the pressures and irritations of what's before you, you are at your very happiest. When you're doing it, you think, this is why I do the work I do. I counseled an executive in his mid-50s, Bob, who had risen through the ranks of a major corporation a few months ago after his promotion to CEO. He came to me because, as he put it, I haven't had a decent night's sleep since I took over the job. Something's wrong and I can't figure out what it is. I flew out to Chicago to see if we could find out what was bugging him. Genius question number 2 turned the key. When I asked him what the aspect of his work he didn't feel like work to him, he told me that what he loved the best was wandering around, talking to other executives for 10 seconds or 5 minutes about whatever was on their mind. He said he got more done in those casual conversations than in formal meetings. Suddenly, the light dawned. He said, I haven't done that a single time since I got promoted to CEO. The reason was partially logistical. He was now in a suite of offices that was separate from where he did his, wandering around. He had been so inundated with new data that he spent most of his time trying to put it all into his head. He made a commitment to start wandering around, and he even did an hour of it while I was there. I flew back home that night and heard the next day that he had got a good night's sleep. See, within every one of our jobs or every one of our endeavors, there is that moment and we say, that's why I do this. That's why I do this. I know in ministry, when people come to me and say after a Sunday, oh, now I get it. Or this is what happened to me after a class. That's why I do this work. Each one of you have some moment in which you say, that's why I do this work. Look at it. Be aware of it. See how you can increase it within your day, because that's when you are in your zone of genius. The third question is, in my work, what produces the highest ratio of abundance and satisfaction to the amount of time spent? And what he's telling us here is, it's so important to get to your zone of genius for you to start doodling every day. Not necessarily that kind of doodling, but noodle doodling. Just sit around and noodle doodle a little bit. Or perhaps what you want to do is, notice when, just daydream. Just daydream. I was thinking about our band. These guys know how to do this. In the book it says musicians often know how to maximize this because they play. And sometimes playing an instrument, you're just doodling around and a great song comes out. Well, that's true for us too. If we will just spend some time daydreaming and being mindful that creation is only this, taking dictation from the divine. That's all creativity is. Taking dictation from the divine. And we do that when we're just the most relaxed, when we're noodle doodling, or when we're playing around. The last question is this: what is my unique ability? I hear this so often. I don't know what my talent is. I don't know what my gift is. Well, finding your zone of genius may be a way for you to find out what your talent is, what your gift is. He talks about Russian dolls. Most of you know that Russian dolls are the ones that you pick up. There's a big doll, and you take off the big doll, and there's a little doll inside, and you take off that, and there's another little doll inside, and there are little dolls inside the big doll. He said we need to approach looking at our gift in that way. And he gives the example of a woman who came to him, and she said, I don't know what my gift is. He said, well, what is it you like to do? What do you love to do? She said, I really like to facilitate business meetings. I'm really good at that. And he said, oh, really? Well, what makes you think you're good at that? Well, I noticed that when energy gets going and room heats up and conflict is going on, that very often I'm the person who can redirect it so that it goes in a forward direction and people aren't hostile to each other. He said, really? He said, where do you think you learned that? No, she said, yeah, there's just something inside of me. When the room starts getting angry, something inside of me just shifts, and I know it's my turn to get into my gift. He said, well, where do you think you learned that? She said, when I was little, my parents often fought. And I was the child in my family that would try and make things okay. So I learned the skill of redirecting their conversation while they were in the middle of a fight. And as a result of that, I think I got the skill. She learned that by taking all the dolls, asking all the questions. Same time, why are you good at that? You and I can do that same thing. We can take one thing we like And we can begin to work with it enough to be seeing, if we ask the question enough times, to see perhaps where our true gift is. Most of us got our gifts when we were very little tiny people. Why is this important? It's important because we want you happy. And when we're in our zone of genius, when we're in our natural state, which is the state of representing presence and power and the glory of God on the planet, then we are at our happiest. We think it's new cars. We think it's Hawaiian vacations. Those are fabulous, by the way. I love them. But what really makes you happy is when you are in your zone of genius, when you are in your giving your gift that God gave you to give. So I want to finish this with just an affirmation that I want you to share with you, and I want you to say it this week. There are a lot of naysayers out there. There are a lot of awfulizers out there. There are a lot of people who will point out all the reasons you can't do something. Okay? So here is your affirmation. When I am happy and successful, I inspire others. Say that together. When I am happy and successful, I inspire others. When I am happy and successful, I inspire others. So I invite you to just keep going with that all week long. So let's take this message into prayer, knowing that we are in the heart and the mind and the love of God. That is where we are and who we are. And I give thanks for that. I know that there is nothing external that is nearly as powerful as the presence of God in each and every one of us. And I give thanks for that. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.